Well, the 1994 animated version of The Lion King left a permanent impression on a lot of generation of moviegoers. It has been 25 years since the original movie was released. The new adaptation of the film opens in cinemas, or rather opened in cinemas last night and premiered here in South Africa on Thursday. It features the voices of John Kani, Donald Glover, Seth Rogen, and of course Beyoncé Knowles-Carter, just to mention a few. Well, Lebo M, who of course is here in studio to tell us all about his role, especially when it comes to the music that we experience in this film, is just going to talk to us about what we can look forward to. Lebo, it's great to have you here in the studio. Thank you so much for making the time.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
This is an African story. 25 years later, it still has resonance, it still has relevance, it still impacts the world in such a big way. Why is that so?
Well, selfishly, I can say the influence of our work through music and the essence of the spirit that were brought to the project 25 years ago. Of course, the landscape being South Africa and Africa, and produced at the highest quality in the history of film producing, especially in animation, had an impact in 1994. I think also, obviously, the story is a global story. Most people can relate to somebody in the characters of The Lion King, and it's a very universal theme. Everyone knows and has a Sky in their family. Everyone knows and has a Mufasa in their family. But I think working on the film 25 years ago and transferring that to the Broadway production has been a lot more of a centralized theme, that the Africanization of it, and my responsibility, especially as a composer and producer, is to maintain the spirit and the theme and represent the positive image of Africa and ourselves, especially the fact that I'm South African.
People love the characters of the movie, but for some reason, the music has always stood out. What is it in the music that moves people so much, that makes people know every word to the lyric, that makes people just happy as well and go through all these different emotions?
I think before 1994, when we released the soundtrack, it would have been a long time before you have a collaboration of composers. I'm one of the four principal composers, myself, Elton John, Tim Rice, and Hans Zimmer. I think that global, it's like a big family of composers from different areas of life, different experiences coming together to write and produce music that is aligned to a project and a story like that of The Lion King made a big impact. Before 1994, I can't recall a project, especially on film, that comprises of composers and music makers from different genres and different parts of the world, but inspired by Africa, inspired by who we are. And lyrically, the content of the Tim Rice wrote obviously brilliant lyrics, and Elton's melodies and mine and Hans Zimmer's work really complemented the story. And we then made it bigger on the Broadway set, where most of the music that went on Broadway was inspired by a project called Rhythm of the Pridelands, the music of Lebo M, which then took the music from the back in the movie to the forefront. And now around the world, we've had great success with over 100 million people that have seen the Lion King Broadway production. Now we're entering a new generation that basically says 25 years into the future, the essence of who we are as artists and who we are as Africans and who we are as storytellers at the highest quality will be experienced by new generations and generations to come, and we're proud of that.
Now, does the 2019 version trade heavily, would you say, on nostalgia, or is it just purely based on the love of the original?
I think it captures both. It brings back the memory, and then creates a whole new audience for us, obviously. And our director, John Favreau, was brilliant in merging the original movie and elements of the Broadway production in telling a story that feels like a new story. And the obvious blown away part, even some of us that worked in the movie.
So this is not going to meddle with our childhood memories?
No, actually, especially those of us that grew up with the original movie, who are now adults or young adults and have children, and maybe some of us have grandchildren. It opens a whole new family environment, a whole new conversation into the future. The subject matter of the film, the fantastic animation, futuristic animation that we haven't seen in films, brings a whole new light to the story. But what I love about John Favreau, he maintained the authenticity of the story. He maintained respect to the artistry, and he insisted on continuing the legacy of The Lion King both on film and on stage. Yet the new elements that he brought in, you can't even, I couldn't tell sometimes which is new and which is not new. And I'm very proud and grateful that, especially for us in music, he was clear and he knew that the spirit of The Lion King, from the movie to the Broadway show, rests heavily on how we present and produce the music. So I was able to expand it, even with the songs. When you listen to the soundtrack, I'm very proud that I was able to redo and dedicate Mbube in this big movie in the way that has not been done before.
Yes.
There's never been a movie that features the song Mbube as Mbube, and I performed it and rearranged it, and it's produced by Pharrell. There's a couple of other songs.
The collaboration with Beyoncé, very quickly, please take us through that.
The collaboration with Beyoncé, I co-wrote the song specifically for the movie. That's different from a song that you collaborate for her album, which is now out, or the end credit. You will see, feel, and experience my collaboration inside the movie in a very specific scene where Simba is now going to take over the Pride Land and interacts with Nala as he runs off. That's the song specifically written for that scene, which then inspired the rest of what we do in the end credits. I'm a lot more proud of the new stuff that we did. I did a version of He Lives in You in Xhosa completely the way I had originally written it with Mark Manchina and, of course, Mbube, and a new song with Elton John, Never Too Late. That's all in the end credits. The score is fantastic. We put a whole lot more energy in it. We went for a live approach. I'm still amazed at how coming home to record choirs still is the only way I get the true South African color of choral singing and movie making, and no one else can do that but us in the whole world, and I'm very proud of it.
Absolutely. You just have to look at the SA Youth Choir and what they're doing on America's Got Talent right now, and how they move hundreds and thousands of people. But Lebo M, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the music. Thank you for your contribution. We see you out there, and we know that you're always waving the South African flag high. It makes us so proud.
Thank you for
so
having
much.
me.
Well, in the frenzy that has taken over social media after the release of The Lion King, well, Beyoncé has collaborated with Mzansi's Lebo M on a surprise track for the film, which also features SA veteran actor Dr. John Kani. We take a quick break. Do stay with us.